Evening, everyone. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give you just some background and update on CEDAR signs. You probably all recollect, probably about a few weeks ago, I just gave a very brief introduction to CEDAR signs, which is a clinical decision support tool, which in fact is designed by clinicians to help GPs identify and manage patients at risk of cancer, and also as a platform and enabler for them to safety net those patients which are either on the borderline, or whether they have a red flag symptom or not, particularly ones where they've got some vague symptoms like just generalized weight loss with no other symptoms, as well as your safety netting for your patients who have been have suggested and have asked for a deferred referral for 2 weeks because of the fear of COVID. It will also help you in terms of your QI for your network DES, in terms of the cancer component, in terms of helping you in terms of the early diagnosis and identification of cancer patients. So across Northwest London, the RMP partners, now can you put those 2 slides up? RMP partners have funded a 1-year pilot for every practice in Northwest London CCGs to roll out CEDAR signs. The funding is for 1 year. There will be an evaluation towards the end of the 1 year in terms of value for money, in terms of the benefits to practices and clinicians, the benefits in terms of the outcomes, in terms of the early diagnosis and stage of cancer, and then that evaluation will only enable Northwest London CCs to decide to continue with CEDAR signs and the long-term sustainability. In terms of the governance of CEDAR signs, this has been approved by the Primary Care Cancer Board, as well as the chairs, and it's gone through the IT and the information governance procedures and processes, and these have all been signed off across Northwest London. And so practices, your practice managers probably may have got an email today or will do tomorrow regarding the DPA, the Data Process Agreement, to sign that DPA so that you can then be enabled for you to have the CEDAR signs installed into your S1 system, which is only a 10-minute process. It requires 1 installation, and you're ready to go in terms of how to utilize CEDAR signs. I'm going to now hand over to Dr. B. Bashki, who's a GP and one of the founders of CEDAR signs, as well as Andrula, who are going to give us a demo of CEDAR signs, as well as B will also answer questions on the chat as we go along. So I'm just going to hand over to both of them now.
Great. Thank you, Vijay. I'm Andrula. I'm a GP by background, and I'm also the community lead for CEDAR signs. My colleague and co-founder of CEDAR signs, B. Bakshi, is also on this call, and she can answer your questions in the chat as I give you a live demo. Vijay gave us a nice overall summary of what CEDAR signs is and how it's especially helpful, even more so during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we've been hearing earlier on some of the problems that you've been having because of that. And we feel that the added new features of the tool can help with your management of your cancer suspected patients. The DPA, the Data Processing Agreement link, would have been sent to your practice managers on Tuesday, and please encourage them to sign this because we need that signed for IG reasons before you're given access to the tool. And then your practice manager will be sent an installation link, and that's a very quick process. And from then on, updates will be automatically done. You don't need to do anything else. We update the tool centrally, and we work with TCST and the cancer boards. So any changes to pathways, 2-week wait forms or patient information leaflets we get told before they go live, so you can rest assured when you use the tool that you have the most up-to-date information. And this is really important when we're in quite a fast-changing environment. We know 4 2-week wait pathways have already been changed, and we're not entirely sure how those are going to change in future. So using the tool is one way of making sure that you're using the most up-to-date pathway.
So just to say that the tool does, you have received information about the quality improvement QoF module. So I believe there is 76 points in total for the QI module that's been published, and early cancer was part of it. So what we will be doing is providing practices with a template improvement plan that you can use in order to support achieving how you want to measure the baseline of your practice and also look at how you want to improve it. So some of the key things that are recommended is looking at practice-wide safety netting, looking at giving out or mandating patient information leaflets for your 2-week wait, looking at adherence to the NICE cancer guidelines, standardizing your referral forms across your practice, so making sure that every single doctor in the practice is referring in the same way against the cancer guidelines, and as well as demonstrating reflective practice, that you are coming together as a practice and looking at each other's referrals, looking at SEAs for cancer, and then also looking into how you can improve your early cancer detection through using adherence to NICE guidelines and earlier diagnosis, thinking about setting a quota practice that we have X population of practice patients, we should be increasing or doing an average of X number of cancer referrals. What I might actually do is that, I know Andrea can't show her screen, but I might share my screen. I have the EMIS version of the tool on my desktop. And whilst it's the EMIS version, it's actually exactly the same as, can I just double check that you can see my screen, Andrea?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
I'll just talk you through this, and I'll tell you if there are any differences with the System 1, because it would just be easier. So when you get sent the installation details, you can still see the signs at the toolbar, and this is the toolbar here. For System 1 practices, you have an additional button, which essentially is a save button, and that's mainly because System 1 requires you to constantly save things as you go along. You can move the toolbar around by just hovering over it. You can click on this and it will collapse the toolbar to just one square, or you can minimize the toolbar and it will go down to the bottom if you want to get rid of it completely. After the first time you've ever logged into the tool, we synchronize your See the Signs login with your System 1 login, so you won't actually ever have to log in again to the tool. It will always be automatically logged in. So when you are within your System 1 system and you've got your patient open, there are 3 options. You can risk assess the patient by clicking on the first button, or you can click on the second button, which is basically the safety netting dashboard. This button basically has information about your account and other resources that you can access. So I'm going to click on the risk assessment button just here. And what it will do is it will first ask you to confirm the patient. So just in case you have two systems open, you won't have any problems with doing an assessment on the wrong patient. So you just confirm the patient here, and then you come to your Ealing specific dashboard. So the Ealing specific dashboard is, you can see that it says here, it will say Ealing CCG, you have an Ealing specific notice board. So on this will deliver guidance to, have there been any changes to the NICE National Guidance for Cancer? Have there been any changes to the Pan London forms? Have there been any changes to access to services locally? So I know from VJ and what we've done within the tool is you refer to, London West, you refer to Imperial. On some occasions, you prefer to Chelsea, Hillingdon, and West Mid as well. So as services become available to you, and these are additional capacity that might be accepting from Ealing, that will be made available to you. So for instance, there is a vague symptom cancer clinic that is soon to be launched at West Middlesex Hospital. As soon as that goes live, you will see those within the pathways automatically, and you'll be signposted when you do use the risk assessment functionality to that pathway once it becomes available. So when you are choosing to risk assess a patient, and this could be either someone's coming with a breast lump and you know it's a breast referral, you don't need to use the risk assessment, you might go straight to the referral forms. Here you'll see you've got all the 2-week wait referral forms. The ones with COVID in the brackets are the new COVID forms. Should they change back to the pre-COVID forms, again, that will happen automatically. and then you just click on the form that you'd like to refer, and you'll see that everything is pre-populated. And what we do is we create red boxes for the mandatory fields, so you know what mandatory fields you need to fill in, and then you can send the referrer off, and this referral will, one, save into your notes to send attached to ERS, and two, this patient will be automatically added to the dashboard, and I'll show you that the dashboard in a bit. So that's the first option, is straight to referrals. The second is to search by either a sign, a symptom, or a risk factor. So this is what Vijay was talking about when you've got patients who's come in with vague or non-specific symptoms. So you can either click on the letter here, or you can free text. I'm going to type thrombocytosis, which is just there. And what it will do is it will show you the cancer pathways that thrombocytosis features in, but also that's eligible for your patient. So because of the patient's age and also gender, you're not showing the pathways that aren't eligible to this patient. You can then search across both these pathways, or you can deselect one and just search across one of them. And this is completely up to you on what you think is appropriate for the patient. Same with if I take you to weight loss, which is a very common presentation patients come with. You can see there's 4 tumor groups here that the patient might be at risk of. Again, you can search across all 4, or you can just search across 2, depending on what you choose to do. The other option is to search by a system. So you have all the tumor pathways here. We combine upper and lower GI, so you don't have to worry about, am I in the right place? And you have a choice of selecting the system. And if you want to, again, you can select multiple systems in one go you might want to search across. So if you've got someone, say a woman with vague abdominal symptoms, you might want to search across upper and lower GI, urology, and gynae for that patient. If I take you into this section, you'll see that for the risk assessment, age pre-populates and gender, and it splits into risk factors, symptoms, signs, and investigations. So it might be the case that, again, in light of COVID, that you're speaking to this patient on the phone and you're not too sure, do I need to bring them in to do an assessment, or actually does this patient already qualify for an onward referral? So for this case, I'm going to just choose a past or current smoker, and I'm going to choose fatigue and shortness of breath, so just a couple of symptoms, and then you just click risk assess. And it's as quick as that. And you can see here you get the recommendations of which cancer pathways this patient qualifies for. So I'm just going to stress this, that these are pan-London adhered and NICE adhered. So if you do use the tool, you are 100% compliant and 100% eligible to use any of the pathways that you're shown. You will not, one, receive a call from secondary care saying this is inappropriate, and you can say this is NICE compliant, and you have that kind of support to do so because you've used the tool. And also it's the case that, because I'll show you in a second about how we do the referral forms, your referral forms won't be rejected or won't have any issues with the quality of being completed or any clinical information being sent across. I will also show you there is a separate button on the referral form that if the patient here didn't qualify for anything, you will still have an option where it says make a referral, and that's because you can always still do a referral even if a patient doesn't qualify for a referral. And even during COVID-19, if you're worried about a patient and they don't qualify for a 2-week wait, you can still do a referral based on clinical suspicion, and that patient will be triaged by that 2-week wait clinic in the way they're responding during COVID, which is a telephone first appointment, which counts towards that 14-day waiting time, but all those patients will be seen. It will not be the case that they can reject your referral or downgrade your referral without your consent or your permission. So a lot of the 2-week wait rules and criteria 100% do still stand. It's just the way that they receive the referral coming in, and the first appointment that's done, that's slightly changed, and that's across London. So you can see here we've got lung, we've got lymphoma, and we've got leukemia. We then provide actually what the test, investigation, or referral criteria that this patient has triggered. We were in a chest risk assessment, but you can see that lymphoma and leukemia have triggered. And that's because it doesn't really matter where you are in the tool. We cross-reference all of the signs, symptoms, and risk factors against all cancer pathways. And that's just a safety netting feature that we offer to avoid having the reliance on you as a doctor to say, you know, I've got this patient with, you know, vague symptoms. I'm going to go down this pathway, but I don't want to be missing cancer elsewhere. And you don't have to have that kind of anxiety because we do that cross-checking. So again, it's your choice about which ones you want to action. You have timeframes here about the duration they should be performed with, and also just some messages from the hospital about any additional blood tests that could be done, which could help speed up the referral. With regards to COVID, we have got the additional option to defer. And what that essentially means is how you as a practice can track these patients who require these investigations or referrals, and for you then as a practice to refer at a later date. And it could be for several reasons, like Vijay mentioned.
Just conscious of time, how much longer do you have?
It's just about 5 minutes left. I think we had 20 minutes on the agenda, and I'm about 9 minutes in because we started late. So apologies, Mahini, but it shouldn't be too long. So like I said, I'm going to action these. So I'm going to defer the chest X-ray. I'm going to action the 2-week wait referral, and I'm going to action the full blood count. And that's mainly because I'm going to put down here, you can see you've got a drop down for the reasons. I'm going to say patient choice. And you'll see here this resource section, and that means essentially we pull all the corresponding patient information leaflets based on the referrals that have been made. And for your patients, you can change the language, and it will pre-populate the text message, and you can just text it. So I'm just going to proceed to the referral form now. You can see the correct referral form has popped up because we did a lymphoma referral. Lymphoma has already been pre-ticked. The reason why has been pre-ticked. All the clinical information has been pre-ticked. And because I texted the patient information leaflet on the previous page, that's also been pre-ticked. And if you downloaded and printed it, it would be pre-ticked as well. And then I just click generate form. And again, this is a staging environment, so it is a lot slower. It will be a lot quicker during the real thing. And then you proceed to notes. And here you can see you've got a full summary of the tool within the clinical system. You can pre-fill text around it. That's just the text message for me that's just come through. And you just click save the patient's notes. And mark as read. Perfect. And I'm just going to show you here, if I take you quickly to the patient's notes. And this is the same within your System 1 systems. When you go to it, you'll see that the clinical symptoms have been coded, the actions have been coded, everything else has been input, and the 2-week wait referral is here. Whereas in your System 1 systems, it will be in letters for your 2-week wait referrals. So I'm just going to show you the dashboard now. So I just did this assessment on James Bond. Anyone who is risk assessed or a referral has been done through the See the Signs risk assessment will automatically be added. So for all those GPs out there who, are individually trying to chase up patients or Excel spreadsheets or messaging admin to add on a spreadsheet, you don't need to do any of those kind of weird and wonderful ways to safety net patients. And we safety net, like you saw, both test investigations. So you've got the hematology referral here, you've got me as a doctor, presentation, working diagnosis. You also have the option to filter all your patients. So you can filter by doctor, so I can see all my patients who have been added to the dashboard. You can filter by investigation to see which referrals people are waiting for, or by how long they're waiting. So if your practice staff are chasing referrals, they might say, okay, they might add a note and say patient has had appointment, just waiting for something else. And you can practice admin staff can add a note here. I'll take you now to the deferred page. So you can see I've deferred the chest X-ray and the full blood count, so they're both noted here. I'm now just going to action the chest X-ray and save that, and I'm going to cancel the full blood count because maybe they've had it elsewhere and the patient's been removed from the deferred page. And if I go back to the active page just here, you can see the chest X-ray has moved over. The full blood count is documented here as cancelled. So now if the chest X-ray comes back to you as your practice, and this could be a fit as well as suspicious, you can then say, actually, I now need to do a 2-week referral, and then you just click chest referral here. If you click proceed, it will then open up the 2-week wait referral, and it will pre-populate the referral with the original consultation as well. So it's really about making all those steps really quick and easy when you need to shoot off referrals off the back of positive investigations that are coming. And that might be something like a fit test that we're doing at the moment for positive fits, as well as x-rays and things like that. Once a person's cancer has been confirmed, they move to the cancer confirmed board. And this is where you'll see them here. It'll be a list of all your cancer confirmed. And you'll then have the option to essentially do a cancer care review. I'll just move this patient over so you can see what it looks like. So just ask you for some information. These green pop-ups you get here means that the practice, your System 1 medical records have been updated. So every time you have a new cancer code put in or a cancer excluded, we actually straight away, we save that into the notes as a coded thing as well. So that keeps your notes updated. So if I go to the cancer confirmed, James Bond has just been moved over here. And you'll see here, it will tell you the cancer he's been diagnosed with. Sorry, I just put gynae very quickly. The presentation, the doctor, and also prompt you when to do a cancer care review. So this is another QOF requirement. You need 100% in order to get it. So you just click here. Again, you can put any notes and you can click save. And what you'll see again is that the medical records have been updated. So that QOF code has been added. So again, by the end of your QOF year, you'll have 100% of patients who on that QOF year have had their cancer care reviews done. And it needs to be done within 6 months. And we prompt you as well on the dashboard to be completed within 6 months. And lastly, you have your cancers excluded. And this is just for audit purposes to be able to look back at the number of patients who have been excluded. So I know that was a really quick whistle stop. We are conducting daily presentations. I'm going to stop sharing just now. Daily presentations and webinars for practices and your admin staff and everyone.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. I need to ask some questions here. So if you could unshare your screen. Okay. Thank you. So Vijay, can I ask a question, please, whenever you are thinking? I want to know, where are we sitting with this in response to RM partners? What does this mean? Seeing person on a 2-week wait is just very small. Where are we with diagnostics to actually back up the full workup on the cancer pathway? And to be clear, that this is sitting alongside System 1. So I think, Vijay, we just need a bit more information on this. And somebody mentioned something to me about, I don't know who's paying for this or what this means. So Vijay, could you just exemplify a little bit more on where we are with this, please?
Okay, so in terms of how this is, first of all, in terms of how this is being funded, this is being funded by our R&D partner as part of the West London Cancer Alliance. So the funding is for 1 year for every CCG and every practice within the 8 CCGs in North West London. During that 1 year funding, there will be an evaluation which is going to be conducted by Imperial. We have asked Imperial to conduct an evaluation of Cedar Signs to look at the, in terms of the benefits for Cedar Signs, in terms of the early identification of cancer, ideally the identification of cancers at early stages rather than late stages, the safety netting processes within Cedar Signs, the feedback from individual users in terms of the benefits of Cedar Signs for the individual user as well as the patient. So that evaluation will then inform North West London CCGs in terms of future funding of Cedar Signs and the continued sustainability of it. So that's where we are from that perspective.
Thank you.
In terms of your question around, the earlier conversations around direct access diagnostics and the challenges we face as GPs, we are going to face unprecedented challenges in terms of how we clinically practice in terms of our inability in some respects to do direct access diagnostics because of the COVID situation and in terms of the backlog and the waiting time for direct access. With respect to 2-week referrals, if your individual patient has the red flag symptoms, which then trigger off a 2-week referral, that 2-week referral should be done, and the secondary care clinicians will be looking at that 2-week referral to ensure and to triage that the referral does reflect the correct symptoms and signs for that referral to be processed by them. There are some caveats to that, and the main caveats which I have described to you before with respect to the COVID changes to the Pan-London 2-week referrals. And the one that was particularly referenced to early on was the FIT test for colorectal. With the FIT test for colorectal, the FIT test colorectal requirement is that a FIT test must be done before a colorectal lower GI referral is done, and to refer that patient if the FIT test is greater than 10. So that one of our GP colleagues mentioned that their referral was rejected with a FIT test of 18 is absolutely against the pan-London 2-week referral guidance, and that is unacceptable. Unless there's some other reason which we are not aware of why that rejection was done, that rejection should never have happened. If the fit test is below 6, there's a 99.6% chance that is a negative test for colorectal cancer. If the fit test is between 6 and 9, that GP then needs to make a clinical decision as to whether they feel that the clinical concern warrants a 2-week referral. And that GP should then put that referral through with the narrative as to why they are concerned about this patient's symptoms and signs that require a 2-week referral. But we are challenged by the fact that we're going to be doing potentially more 2-week referrals without direct access diagnostics. That is the environment that we're working on.
Can I just add to that?
That's one of my concerns. I think I can completely understand the AI technology or the algorithm that would go underneath the early diagnosis. I have no issues with it at all. I would say that most of us go through medical school and experience to be quite cute at, and I think one of the skills GPs have is good diagnostic skills. Our problem in the system is going to be the diagnostics and access to diagnostics and then the start to treatment. That is one of our biggest issues, and I'm very happy to roll this out as the right thing to do, but that is not going to make sure all your patients are going to get the right treatment at the right time and the right diagnostics. So
it might
be clear about that.
It might be helpful to add, just to say, Heaney, that we work with the Cancer Alliance directly, with Pan London, leadership team directly, and NWL STP directly. So we are part of the conversations for how the new capacity across NWL is unfolding, as well as changes and impacts to services across all 8 trusts and CCG.
I'm fully aware of that. Yeah.
So I just mean in the sense of we have good oversight in order to keep the tool up to date as more services do come on board and be able to give GPs the option to accessing those new services in real time. So rather than what currently happens is, I'm sure you're communicating to GPs through emails, through WebExes and things like that. We're talking about signposting GPs at that point. The referral is indicated based on that referral criteria to say, actually, this is now a scan, go for it, or this is now an endoscopy because that's opened up, or sorry, endoscopy is not available, this is an upper GI. So currently there's no endoscopy capacity across all of NWL. Right now, NWL is working with independent sector providers to open up endoscopy capacity in order for the backlog. And should that be available for being able to fast track 2-week waits, again, that will be reflected in the tool in real time.
I'm well aware, I'm completely okay with that. All I'm saying is that I think this is the right tool. Just need to understand the limitations in terms of access to treatment is very different from access to a 2-week appointment by virtual. So I think, I think it's the right thing to do, but we just need to be clear with practices, what is on the table here. Yeah.
Absolutely, Mandy. And I think where See the Signs will be, definitely during the COVID climate that we're in, where See the Signs will be definitely beneficial is the actual safety netting and the dashboard within it for your practice, so that you can track and trace those patients who are in the system, either within your own practice or in the system, in terms of have they had their first appointment, have they had their investigations for their 2-week referral, but also for the network as well, because the dashboard has the ability to have network level and CCG level dashboards. So for the network, it will be a good facilitator in terms of having those peer-to-peer discussions about early cancer diagnosis and QI for cancer, using the network dashboard for them to have discussions around particular patients with late presentation or unexpected presentations or delayed presentations in terms of the discussions. So it will be helpful for that.
So in terms of next steps, can I just be clear on next steps?
Yeah, so the next steps are that the communication went out to all the practices in terms of describing See the Signs, and also the support and training webinars, which B mentioned So there are daily webinars, 20 minutes long, for practices to log on to. There's also the demo, which they log on just for the demo any time of day and night, which if they want to as well. Each practice manager should have on Tuesday got the email for them to sign the DPA, the data processing agreement. Once that is signed by the practice manager, then See the Signs will then send a practice a unique link, which they then download and install the tool. And that installation will only take about 10 minutes for the practice manager to do, and that will be for the whole system within your environment in terms of the practice that you're working with in terms of all the steps.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. Thanks, Vijay.